Taken from the book. David Bowie. The Starman Variations. Song, Philosophical Analysis, and Prosodynes. By Steve Sayles. Life on Mars? It begins not with theology but with theatre. The girl with the mousy hair sits before the screen, small, ordinary, and haloed by artificial light. Around her expands a universe of manufactured wonder, the world projected rather than lived. Bowie opens the song within that glow, turning the act of watching into the act of being. The screen becomes the new sky, the projector the new sun. Where revelation once descended from heaven, illumination now issues from the machine. Existence itself is reframed as spectacle, a flickering world in which consciousness finds its reflection in light that does not come from above but from behind. Inside this new cosmology, the image has replaced experience. Politics, rebellion, tragedy, all have become scenes within an endless broadcast. What Guy Debord called the society of the spectacle finds its perfect soundtrack here, meaning flattened into imagery, consequence dissolved by repetition. Bowie sailors, cavemen, and lawmen parade through a landscape where every role is performance and every crisis a rerun. The girl's film, lived 10 times or more, is no metaphor but condition. The 20th century has become a looped reel, the world an archive of its own imitations. Boredom, that quiet refrain running through the lyric, becomes the emotion of metaphysical exhaustion. When everything has already been seen, nothing feels real. This is not cynicism but revelation, the discovery that repetition itself is the structure of modern time. Heidegger called boredom the moment when beings withdraw and being itself becomes visible. Bowie translates that insight into pop. The film is a saddening bore precisely because consciousness has grown too informed to believe, too illuminated to find innocence credible. The void between knowledge and meaning yawns beneath the melody. And then the question, is there life on Mars? Arrives like a cosmic joke whispered in prayer. It is not astronomical but existential. Is there authenticity beyond simulation? The Mars of the song is not a planet but an elsewhere, an imagined realm of unmediated reality. Yet even that yearning is staged. Bowie performs transcendence as theatre, aware that longing itself has become another genre of entertainment. Irony is his instrument of truth, sincerity revealed through costume, wonder performed as critique. The song's historical moment, 1971, between the fading of utopian optimism and the rise of global media saturation, gives the question its edge. Television had become the world's nervous system. News and fantasy shared the same frequency. Bowie's surreal collage of imagery, American icons, British nostalgia, political unrest, captures the early symptoms of cultural vertigo. The lawman beating up the wrong guy condenses the moral confusion of a world that now witnesses justice as theatre. Bowie's vision is both prophecy and parody. He anticipates the merging of politics and performance that will define the coming decades. Psychologically, the girl becomes the archetype of the modern spectator. She lives through images, her emotions mediated by the spectacle she consumes. She feels deeply but acts not at all. Her empathy exists within the grammar of the screen. Her revolt is scripted before it begins. The screen imprisons and blesses her in the same act, feeding her longing while depriving her of immediacy. In her rapt attention we recognize our own condition, connected to everything, estranged from ourselves, praying to reflections that answer only with light. Gender and identity blur within this radiance. The girl's anonymity universalizes her. She could be anyone or everyone. Bowie's androgynous performance transforms alienation into art, dissolving boundaries until identity itself becomes a costume. The stage becomes laboratory, the self an experiment. Being is no longer essence but appearance, a play of surfaces through which the spirit searches for form. Around this theatre, the world collapses into simulation. Mickey Mouse grows monstrous, icons cannibalize their own mythology, history loops as advertisement. Long before Baudrillard named the hyperreal, Bowie sang it. In the age of mediation, the copy precedes the original. The symbol outlives what it represents. Reality, replayed often enough, forgets how to exist unrecorded. The lyrics' absurd juxtapositions reveal the logic of late modernity, that all content becomes equal once framed by spectacle. The film about to be writ again is the eternal news cycle, history as content feed before the digital made it literal. Yet Bowie's self-awareness rescues him from despair. The question is asked within artifice and knows it. The song is both mask and confession, illusion and its exposure. This self-referentiality marks a mature metaphysics. Truth now includes awareness of its own construction. Reality, once discovered, must now be designed. Existence becomes aesthetic, sustained not by essence but by attention. Out of this awareness arises catharsis. For all its irony, life on Mars does not end in negation. Its orchestral sweep, its yearning melody, transmute critique into beauty. Art becomes the last medium of transcendence, not escape from illusion but its transformation into form. Where religion once promised salvation, performance now offers coherence. Through sound and spectacle, the meaningless becomes meaningful again. Half a century later, the prophecy stands fulfilled. The girl has multiplied into billions of watchers, each illuminated by their own handheld screen. The question persists, is there life beyond representation? Only now it echoes across networks rather than cinemas. Bowie's song has become both relic and mirror, reflecting a culture of infinite images searching for an original. Its tone of ironic wonder is the emotional key of digital modernity, astonishment sustained within the knowledge that everything is staged. In the end, life on Mars transforms alienation into philosophy and spectacle into sacrament. Its central paradox, sincerity performed as artifice, defines the modern soul. The world is stage and home at once, the audience both captive and creator. The question of Mars was never astronomical, it was human. It was the question of whether there is still life within the movie we call reality, whether, staring at our own projection, we might still find it alive. The cinema of desire, a Prosodyne inspired by life on Mars. She sits inside the brightness, a small silhouette caught between the projector and the wall, suspended in a beam of borrowed meaning. The air hums with static prayers, miracles printed on celluloid and sold by the meter. Her life, unspooled before her, feels both rehearsal and rerun, half remembered, half imagined. Somewhere off-screen, her parents are still arguing in the familiar dialects of fatigue and survival. But here, at least, the violence has choreography. The screen offers pattern where reality provides only repetition. The theatre around her is crowded with faces that do not belong to anyone in particular. They laugh and sigh in the same rhythm, their emotions choreographed by sound cues. On the screen, actors perform existence. In the seats, the audience performs empathy. Between them hums an invisible commerce, the quiet exchange of attention that powers both worlds. She wonders which side she occupies. Is she the viewer or the viewed, the dreamer or the dream? The screen's glow answers only by deepening her outline. The film insists it is fiction, but its geography betrays it. The streets resemble her own, the sky is too washed out to be symbolic. Each plot twist feels recycled from the headlines she scrolled past that morning. The hero bleeds photogenically, the villain apologizes with grace. Their symmetry feels rehearsed. In the polished glass of the concession stand she glimpses her reflection and recognizes both of them, the saint and the sinner flickering behind her eyes. Art imitates life, but life is now an imitation of its own broadcast. The real stutters. For a second, the image splits and the illusion falters. Behind the facade she glimpses wires, backdrops, and stagehands running cues. It is not disillusionment that floods her, but relief. The exposure of artifice feels merciful. At last, the truth, even falsehoods require craftsmanship. She smiles at the absurd diligence of the unreal and understands that boredom is the toll exacted by coherence. Perfection, she realizes, is the most exhausting fiction of all. When she steps outside, the city resumes the film. Billboards replace icons. Advertisements replace hymns. Neon altars sell deliverance in installments. The air is scripted, charged with slogans promising transcendence through transaction. Every window offers a reflection of her looking at herself looking back. The difference between faith and marketing has become aesthetic. Currency replaces dialogue. Desire has been indexed into data. She walks among the congregation of consumers, her face lit by the same radiance that once belonged to revelation. Later, alone, she rewinds the day in her mind. The world plays backward, the quarrels dissolve into misinterpretation, headlines revert to prophecy, the noise collapses into signal. Somewhere in that static she hears a child version of herself whispering a question too large for conversation and too fragile for applause. It is not "Is there life on Mars?" but "Is there life in this movie?" The difference between the two feels theological. One asks about the stars, the other wonders whether meaning can still survive the screen. The film ends without ending. The screen fades to blue, a color too vacant to be empty. She stands blinking, half dream, half documentary, as the credits drift upward like the names of forgotten gods. The projector dies into silence, leaving only the hum of her own attention, the sound of consciousness realizing it is still awake. She steps outside where the night begins again, the stars patient as reruns, the sky repeating itself with quiet conviction. In their distant shimmer she recognizes the only true continuity left to her, that even within the endless cinema of desire, something unfilmed still shines.